What's going on, guys? I got episode 9 here of the Offseason series, breaking down each team on Puckpedia Mock GM roster. This video is going to be on the Dallas Stars. Going into the offseason, they're one of the more busy teams. They're going to be one of the busier teams in the league. They only have $5 million cap space, and looking at their roster here, there's a lot of holes on it. But there's also a lot of angles to clear some caps. So I want to dig into all that, see how we can clear some cap space for the Stars and, bring back a roster that can hopefully get over the hump next year and finally, secure another trip to the finals. First one since 2020 for them. I think there's potential here to make this team a wagon and, compete for a cup very, very soon. So diving into it here, I think the two main culprits of, bad cap here for the Stars are Lyubushkin and Dumba. So they're both going to be traded this offseason. So first trade I'm going to make, I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have a lot of cap space. And Kyle Davis has openly said that he's going to take on some bad contracts this summer in return for assets. So I'm going to dump Lyubushkin as well as Maverick Bourque to the Penguins. And the Penguins are just going to send back a fourth. So Maverick Bourque here is, positive value for the Penguins, while Lyubushkin's negative value. So the Penguins get Maverick Bourque, and the Stars get $3.25 million in cap space for the next 2 years, plus a fourth-round pick. So I think that's a pretty fair trade. Get a big, anchor off your books. So that now brings the Stars up to $8 million cap space. So another guy I'm going to trade who has been in a lot of trade talks recently for the Stars is Mason Marchment. He's 1 year left at $4.5 million. The Wings looking at their roster here, the Stars looking at their roster are kind of weak on the right wing. So I'm going to target a right wing from Detroit. I'm going to go for Jonathan Berggren. And Stars could give up, or Wings could give up a third as well. It'll be a 2026 one because this is a trade I would see happening after the draft. So, yeah, I think this is good. Jonathan Berggren, the rights to him, and a third for Mason Marchment. And then you can immediately go and sign Berggren. I think we'll say 1.3 mil for 2 years. It's a good starter deal. And then, put him on that third line right wing. So I still want to clear a little bit more space. And, who's been in a lot of trade talks recently is Jason Robertson. Stars said they would move him to free up some cap space. They would have to extend him by next year, which would probably be a very fat extension, 11 plus mil in that range. So I'm going to trade him. I don't think he'll actually get traded. This is just more for fun, for speculation. But I don't think they'll actually trade him. But if they do, if the package is good, I'm not opposed to it either because they're so deep already that, it doesn't really matter, right? So going over to Anaheim here, we're going to get Zegras, who can play left wing. A good defensive prospect in Tristan Luneau, who might be NHL ready as of this year. 2025 and 2026 first and 2026 second. All this for Jason Robertson, as well as dumping Matt Dumba's contract. Bombshell, I know, right? Crazy. I think, it's hard if you're the Stars to really do that trade, especially since Zegras has kind of been so iffy. So I get why it would be scary for the Stars to really pull the trigger on this one. But Zegras still has a lot of talent and a lot of, leeway. He's still super young. Like, it will take him some time to find his game, but I think a change of scenery is the main thing he needs right now. You also get Luneau, who's a young defensive prospect, probably like a B-tier prospect. So I think he has the potential to be a good, solid second pairing defenseman. And then you get the 2025 first, which is pick number 10. So with pick number 10, the Dallas Stars should select Roger McQueen if he's still there. some other options at that point could be Victor Eklund if he's still there. Or they could also go for a defenseman like Radim Mertka. But I feel like this draft, all the rankings I've seen are kind of all over the place. So it's really hard to say like how much, or sorry, it's hard to say who's going to go where because everything I've seen is kind of all over the place. But yeah, in an ideal world, I think they get Roger McQueen. He'll be able to play up the middle in a few years. I don't think he'll start in the NHL. I think this team's too good for him to come in on. So I think I'll start him in the minors. And then he can earn a spot maybe throughout the season, or he can go back to juniors for another year, but you never know. So then to fill this left wing 1 hole, as well as one of these bottom 6 holes, working with $16 million in cap space now, I think the Stars are gonna bring back a few guys in the re-sign phase, in Jamie Benn, who I think will sign a deal around this, if not less, because at this point in his career, he's made a lot of money. He had a great contract for him. Overpaid for a few years there, but I think taking some sort of discount I think he really wants to win the cup, and doing it with Dallas, I think that's probably what he wants to do, and Dallas is in a perfect spot to do it. So I'm going to sign him here for $3 million, but I could see him signing even lower than that, probably for 2 years. So yeah, he'll be on the third line left wing then. And another guy I think they'll bring back is Mikael Granlund, because he meshed great on the first line with Hintz and Rantanen, the finish line, So we'll give him $5.5 million for, let's go 2 years. I think 3 years would be too much. But if he should be after a cup, I'd imagine, because he's getting old. He's never won one. That's still a good deal. He could get more on the open market, but I think winning is probably the main thing. It should be the main thing at this point in your career. So let's see. Next move I'm gonna make here. So Luno's probably not good enough to go there. So next move I want to make is sign a UFA. Currently have $7 million cap space to work with. I think signing Brent Burns 1 year, $3 million, probably his last shot here at winning a cup. Dallas has a hole on their right side, which is where Brent Burns fits perfectly, and not in the number 1 role either. He could play number 1 PP, although that's probably gonna be Thomas Harley's role. Who's, speaking of, you should definitely extend Thomas Harley this offseason. I think like $8 million for 4 years, just because if you're signing him longer term, it'll probably be more like $10 million. And I just don't think you're in a cap situation right now where you can go spending like that much money. So I think you kind of bridge him a little bit. His next deal would be when he's 27, so like right in the middle of his prime, so he could sign his fat contract then. But $8 million for 4 years, I think is fair. I think it's good. I'd do that if I was the Stars, and I think I could see Harley doing it too. So hopefully he would, but who knows? So we still have $4.7 million cap space and 2 holes on the roster. I'm gonna bring in some UFAs here. Looking at this, I'll have him here. Put him on the third line. And then bring in a left winger. So looking at my UFA/trade board here, I think Saad is a good fit for the left wing 3. So we'll put him there. I think he actually had a surprisingly good year last year, considering the whole contract situation with St. Louis, where his contract got terminated. So we're gonna sign him 2 years, $2 million. I think that's fair. And he can play on the third line. And I also want to bring in Corey Perry. He lost in the Cup final with Dallas a few years ago. And I think running it back with Dallas would be fun. It would be fun to see, and I think he'd be great in his third line role, especially on line with Jamie Benn. A line of Benn and Perry, plus you add Granlund, Burns to the team. You have a bunch, and Saad too. You have a bunch of veterans, but then you also look at all the young talent with Hintz, Rantanen, Johnston, Sagan is a vet as well, but your whole defense here, I mean, Heiskanen, Harley, Bishop, like Andre, these guys are all young, and then you have a bunch of old guys too to mentor them. So I think it's a good balance of, what you could see in the build of a playoff team. So another trade I want to make here, I kind of want to make the fourth line center a little bit better. What am I doing? And make a trade to shed a little bit of money as well. So to the Caps, I'm going to acquire Hendrix Lapierre, and I'm going to send them, or Hendrix Lapierre, and we'll say a fourth for Sam Steele, who it's not necessarily that he's overpaid. Looking at his analytics here, he's worth $2.1 million, which is exactly what his new deal is kicking in. So the market says he's $2.1 million. Send him to shed a little bit of money to the Caps. You get a younger center in Hendrix Lapierre, who you pay like $1 million for a couple of years. Oops, I didn't submit the trade. Get a mid-round pick and a fourth as well. And you can sign Lapierre $1 million for 2 years. And while I'm down here, I'm also going to sign Lundqvist for $1.2 million. $1.2 million for 2 years. That could be your seventh defenseman. And if Luneau can't handle the role, then Lundqvist can go in. And just sub in for injuries in general as well. Also, let's see. One more move I want to make. Sign Matej Blumel, $850K for 2 years as like an extra forward. Sub in for injuries and whatnot throughout the season. He'll probably get a good amount of games in because there's always injuries. That's hockey. And that leaves the Stars here with $940K in cap space. I think if this is the roster, I think it's pretty solid. You can also sub in or switch Zegras and Ben here if needed. So I think this roster is pretty good, though. It keeps the Stars competitive while shedding some money, giving some more cap flexibility, getting younger as well. I also want to extend Zegras $5 million. Yeah, we'll do $5 million for 2 years. Because he hasn't really earned more than that. You could wait till next season to pay him, but I think you risk his value goes up, and then you got to pay him more than that. So I think signing him $5 million for 2 years now, kind of like another prove-it deal, like this current deal was, although it turned out to be a bit of an overpay when it was probably expected to be a little bit of an underpay, and then he get paid like $7-8 million after. But that's not how it worked out. But getting him here $5 million for 2 years, locking him up for a couple more years. If you're trading Robertson, you don't want to lose him for Zegras, who you just end up trading for something else because you're probably not going to get as much value out of that, unless Zegras really just isn't the player that everyone thought he was, or could be. But yeah, that's going to do it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is my Dallas Stars off-season roster in an ideal world. Again, though, I don't think they'll trade Robertson. He'll probably still be the left wing one, but it is fun to look at other options, because trading him here, you'd get Zegras, Luneau, Roger McQueen, and then a first-round pick for next year, which, could be pretty high because I don't think Anaheim will be a playoff team next year. So you'll probably have a lottery pick there. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry I'm dragging it. See you later.